of the female reproductive cycle under the influence of obviously the hormones that drive the cycle and the different changes on the ovary side as well as the endometrial side. So just taking a look at this, because all of the structures are essentially the same. You have the vagina, a muscular tube, you have the cervix, which is the neck of the uterus, and then you have the body of the uterus. So this is all uterus. Again, it looks like pear-shaped. The opening from the vagina to the cervix is called the external os. Inside that you have the cervical canal, and then the opening from the cervical canal through the internal os opens up into the body of the uterus. You have the perimetrium, the myometrium, and the endometrium lining the uterus. Over here you have the ovary, you have the ovarian ligament, you'd have the suspensory ligament. Now there would be one here also, but it's not shown. Ovarian ligament, suspensory. Ovarian ligament, suspensory ligament. Above the ovarian ligament you have the mesovarium, and to the side of the uterus you have the broad ligament. Now, structures that make up the fallopian tube. So in the cutaway over here, you can see that this opening represents the fembrae. These are the little finger-like projections that draw the oocyte. In this case, ovulation has taken place, and it's being drawn into the fallopian tube. As it narrows down, it becomes the infundibulum, a funnel-like area, and proceeds towards the ampulla, and then the isthmus right here connects the fallopian tube to the body of the uterus. Now, the first part of the cycle is stimulated by the gonadotropic hormones from the anterior pituitary gland. So FSH beginning to rise in this area, day 1 and up, is marked by the increasing of the follicle size. So these are primordial follicles, and here you can see a layer of thecal cells and granulosa cells surrounding the follicle, making this a primary follicle. A slight cavity produced inside is called an antrum, making this the secondary follicle. And as the antrum enlarges, it becomes a mature Graafian or tertiary follicle. So this is ready for ovulation, which should take place around day 14. Now, in addition, you have the outer layer here, which is called the tunica albuginea, the germinal epithelium. Underneath the germinal epithelium is the tunica albuginea, and then you have the cortex, cortical stroma, and medullary stroma. All the other structures shown here are primordial follicles, primary, secondary, and tertiary. Now, around day 14, as the level of estrogen and inhibin rise, stimulate the anterior pituitary gland to release LH, ovulation takes place. So now the follicle ruptures. Here's a ruptured follicle, and this becomes a gland called the corpus luteum. So for the next several days, the corpus luteum is producing progesterone, which stimulates vascular development inside the endometrium. So now you have this stratum functionalis layer, which is developing spiral capillaries, becoming more glandular, in anticipation of fertilization in the fallopian tube, which would then embed into the body of the uterus. At the end of its life cycle, it becomes the corpus albicans, no longer producing progesterone. The level of progesterone is dropping, and that's going to lead to a sloughing off of the endometrium and associated capillaries, marking the beginning of the menstrual cycle, day 1.